Hello. Hi. Very sorry for the delay. Yeah, this one was just straight incompetence. I can't even blame anything. Oh, let me just womp. Wait, I do this. Oh. What? Huh? Huh? There. Hello. Yeah, sorry. Busy day, but ain't it always, right? Oh. Oh my gosh, so many things. So many minor things are inconveniencing me. What? Someone called me a femboy in my recent short. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry. I've been so busy with work today. I'm sure all of you can relate. How are you doing today? I hope very well. I'm making a tweet. I'm just throwing out a tweet right now, talking about how, ooh, special announcement at the end. Because if you didn't see my community post, this is just going to be a fun little stream. Nothing too crazy. Can't really think of anything in particular to do. So we might end up playing a game or just kind of doing D&D notes. But then at the end, I want to make a little bit of announcement. Let me just send this out right proper quick. Okay. Finally, everything is put together. Y'all, I don't know if it's just the fact that I was busy today and then that like made the rest of my day like super busy as a result, or if it's the fact that yesterday night, I learned what Kraken Week was, and I was just like, I want to do Kraken Week. Or actually, more accurately, I was like, I want to do Kraken Week. So then I decided, hey, I'll make my own Kraken video. So I wrote the script and recorded an entire video, which ended up being longer than I expected last night. And my plan today was that I was going to spend my day editing it. And then I realized I was super busy. And then I was supposed to stream today. And I would have just kicked it to tomorrow. But it is a holiday, in the US at least. So can't do that. Yeah, I think that after stream today, if it goes short, editing is going to be what I'm doing. And then mayhaps, or actually no, definitely tomorrow, a lot of what my night is going to be editing a Kraken Week video. And I made the entire script of the video, and then I finally watched the Pointy Hat, or at least the description of Kraken Week that Pointy Hat gave. And then I realized it's like, hey, make sure it's just something related to being underwater. And I was just like, I didn't make something about being underwater. I made it about Krakens, though, so I think I get a pass. Although I have no idea if anyone's actually going to, like, add it to the list, to the playlist or whatever, so a wee ball. You know how it is. Question. If I get my chat. Alright, so my chat's good. Hello, Mr. Lenny. I'm just rambling about a video coming out. My hope is that I can get a video for Kraken Week out by Friday, so I can do my normal Monday, Wednesday, Friday release schedule, but I might end up having to do it on the weekend. So my Kraken Week video is, funny enough, about Krakens. What would you have thought? But the idea is that I was looking over the Kraken in the monster manual, and I realized that they have a 20-foot move speed and they have amphibious, meaning there's no reason that it can't just be a terrestrial creature. And then looking over its stat block, yeah, all of the regional effects are like, hey, water elementals spawn in sources of water but can't leave it, and aquatic creatures are charmed. But the only like combat ability that the Kraken has that is reliant on water is like the ink cloud. And my thought process is, if the Kraken can summon lightning via magic, or it's like innate magical ability, why can't it just summon a cloud of ink that lingers in the air? I mean, it only lasts for like 6 seconds anyway. So it's like a smoke bomb almost. So it's the idea of like, how would a Kraken acclimated to the mountains be different than a Kraken acclimated to the desert versus the rainforest versus even just an inland lake? Because think about it. Imagine you're an adventuring group and you're in this town. It's like miles inland from sea. Like there's no ocean for like a day's travel away. And then there's this giant lake, or maybe it's a small lake. Maybe it's a lake that's no more than like a mile across or like 1.5 kilometers across. And then despite that, there's a Kraken in it. Like it might be asleep. It might not be actively harming the nearby denizens, but there's no reason a Kraken like 10,000 years ago couldn't have just wandered inland. Or maybe back when the sea levels were higher, this was its domain, and it slept through a changing of the glacial sheets, and now it's no longer in the ocean. Or maybe like a couple months ago, a Kraken just wandered from the ocean inland and decided to set up shop in a mountain range. Like, I think that the implication is there that because it's a Kraken, it's like a squid entity, it needs to be constantly moistened, but there's nothing in the stat block about that. There's nothing raw about that. So then my thought process is, if there's nothing raw that prevents it, and even if there was something raw that prevents it, the fact that I came up with this idea is like, just homebrew your Kraken. So it can control the weather. It could try to flood the desert, or it could make this desert needlessly hot. Maybe this is a really weird Kraken that like enjoys sunbathing and like lays its tentacles out. Maybe it's like a Sarlacc pit, right? And it like basks in the sunlight for enjoyment. And like, I don't know. I just think it's a avenue that I have not seen discussed before, specifically because most people, myself included, when I think of a Kraken, I think of a giant squid, like a colossal squid that is like, its mantle is as large as a galleon, and its tentacles longer than masts, like mastheads. So the idea being, well, the D&D Kraken is more of like just a tentacly mass connected to a giant oversized body. So there's no reason for it not to be able to just like wander around, you know? Particularly with 20 feet of movement, which is almost as fast as a person. It's almost as fast as a dwarf. And then it can breathe air and water. So there's no problem there. The only thing I could see is that like 20 feet isn't that fast. So I would just probably bump the movement speed up. But also it's the idea of like, well, what if it dries out? Well, it's not Sahuagin, and it's not a Marrow, and it's not any of those creatures that like need to go back in the water. It's not a Grung. But hello, hey. Wait, hey, aren't you gonna stream in like 4 minutes? Don't you hit me with that. But no, I think that just a little bit of reflavoring, and you can take the raw stats of a Kraken and just throw it in any biome. Like, hit me with a biome, and I could reasonably come up with a Kraken that only changes like 2 of its abilities. That would stay there, right? You're already live. Okay, well, let me open you in the background so I get channel points. I mean, so I can support you. I always get worried about leaving other streams or like videos open in the background because I'm like, no, what if it randomly starts playing noise and then I like upset people? But no, what I think would be even well, that's what I'm doing to you. I'm making big number go bigger. But I think it would be even more interesting in the Kraken idea if not just in different elements, but also if they tied to different planes of existence, because I think the Kraken as raw is an entity from the elemental plane of water. So what would an elemental plane of earth Kraken look like? And I'm not saying, oh, what would the equivalent be? I mean, like, no, what would a Kraken with all of the same like tentacles and lightning powers and intelligence look like, and what abilities would it have if it was based in a different plane of existence? Like a Kraken from the elemental plane of chaos, a Kraken from the 9 hells, which is just where all deep sea creatures actually originate from. Although, let's be real, it's more the abyss than anything. Oh, it would be so funny because AE just went live. If I just like put AE's stream on my stream in the corner, I don't know if I would like get in trouble for that. If I would get like DMCA'd. Desert Kraken with burrowing speed and tremor sense that swims under the sand, charms all desert creatures, purple worms with the regional effects, and instead of flinging creatures with tentacles, it pulls them deeper into sand. I didn't even think of swapping the aquatic creature charm to the desert creature charm, because basically everything else that you said, like 100%, if you have a giant creature in the desert, if it isn't burrowing under the sand dunes, you're doing something wrong. But take the charming of like intelligence 2 or lower creatures, and then apply that to desert creatures, and yeah, you get like purple worms. You get like monstrous desert dwelling creatures that just are charmed by it and follow its commands. And I think another avenue that you might shift, but you don't have to, and I actually thought about this a bit myself and then decided I don't think it's necessary to change. If you have a desert Kraken, 6 miles around it, it will have what's it called? Water elementals spawn in sources of water and they can't leave it. That means whatever few oases and oasis is located in the desert, it's dangerous now. The one source of life in the desert that anyone could feasibly like subsist off of, death sentence. Like if you go there, you're going to be exhausted, you're going to have heat stroke, you're going to be dehydrated most likely, and then you have to fight a CR5 water elemental or possibly more than one, you know? So that's something where it's, I don't know, you could swap that to being like fire elementals, and then you have a desert that is filled with like fire elementals and charmed purple worms. And think about it, if you're in the desert, it's sparsely populated, there's very little infrastructure, there's very little places to hide. So theoretically, a Kraken that lives in the desert could just like snipe you with lightning and you would have no recourse, because what are you going to do? Hide under the non-existent shelter? Although I think the desert dwelling kraken was my first thought, and I think that was my second thought. Hello, After Crash. My second thought might have been the desert, and then the first thought was like the lake. Because think about it. If you have a lake, actually, let me swap on over to MS Paint for this. Because not only will that help like demonstrate what I want to do, it's also really good for engagement, I found. So if you have a lake, kraken. Let's say your lake is like this, right? And then you have a town here, and you have a town over here. Let's say that this is a forest, this is a lake, and then like very, very slim like 6 mile radius. Because like let's say the kraken is right there, right? Because then it's like roughly 6 miles off in every direction. Both this town, and then maybe there's like a mountain range over here, and then at the base of that there's another town. All of these are caught in the aura of the regional effects of the kraken. So if this is a kraken in a lake, suddenly, if you're over in this mountain town and you fill up, like you go to the well of your town, a water elemental might kill you. Because in a 6 mile radius, water elementals spawn in water and cannot leave the water. And they're presumed to be hostile. So let's say you're a noble over in this town's bath, and like you have your servants draw you a bath. What's to stop a water elemental from forming in your bathtub and killing you? Right? Let's say you have a regional effect that the kraken does. And what it does, unending rain. So then this little lake grows larger. This entire town submerged. And then it grows larger. And then maybe this forest area is at a lower incline, so then it floods this entire forest as well. Suddenly that's 2 towns that were destroyed purely by the regional effect of a sleeping kraken. And then once the kraken finally awakens, maybe this entire 6 mile radius area, except for the very base of the mountain, all becomes one giant miniature ocean. Just over the course of years of nonstop rainfall. And then now you have this mountainside town at the base of this basically artificial lake with a kraken in the center. And you have these, depending on how long it's been raining for this to happen, potentially ancient ruined cities underwater, Atlantis style. All from just seeing that the kraken can breathe both air and water and has a 20-foot speed. Like, this is just one completely unique scenario that I haven't looked it up, so if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but this very well could be a completely unique encounter that has never been published before. But krakens are by no means like at the forefront of what unique D&D monsters can be, because krakens are like in pop culture all over. But the way D&D handles its krakens, like, you can just do this kind of stuff. And that's also to mention, like, I made a video about beholders earlier in the week, and it's the same idea where it's like, I was reading the lore of beholders. I think because I came up with the idea of like a beholder fight, 2 beholders fighting, and then it turned into like a corporate espionage style short idea. But the lore of beholders is like you can have what is it? Eye tyrants, which is like the Xanathar in the Sword Coast and official D&D creations, where they like interact with humanoids but see them as lesser and want to control and dominate them. Or you can have a completely xenophobic paranoid beholder that never interacts with any humanoid unless it is already a mind slave. Or you could have a hive colony of beholders, which is where one beholder basically dreams of multiple beholders. So like 3 to 6 mini beholders. And the idea is that normally when a beholder dreams of another beholder, there's like, it could be a 99.9% exact copy of itself, but if even 0.1% of it is different, they fight. Right? And a lot of the times, the new one actually beats the old one, and the old one ends up running away, so the new one kind of takes over. But sometimes they dream up like mini-me's, almost like Despicable Me minions, where they look similar enough, but they're all notably weaker than the beholder. So then suddenly you have your big bad beholder, your BBB, and then beneath it you have a series of like little guy, little guy, little guy, little guy. And then maybe under them, like one of them might be in charge of humanoids. One of them might be in charge of beasts. One of them might be in charge of monsters. One of them might be in charge of specifically elves. Right? So then you kind of have like a natural hierarchy arise where, let's say the party ends up fighting this like really strange and almost like aloof elf who like is robbing people on the countryside like a bandit, and then they interrogate him, and then they find out like, oh, the elf knows nothing, let's follow the elf back to their lair. Then they lead back to this little guy, and they're like, oh my gosh, a beholder, this is like a slave under the beholder. And then they fight this, and then they realize, wait, no, this isn't a beholder, this is like a baby in comparison to its parent. And then suddenly you go from, hey, we're fighting bandits, to beholder, to almost like conspiracy. Right? Because you go from like the lowest rank, you fight the thing above it, you think that's it, and then you have this entire other section revealed to you. And then you're like, whoa, do we go after like the monsters into the other little guys and then the beasts into that little guy? Or do we just go straight for the top? Because once you take out the top, what's to stop the humanoid one from just rising to take its place? Right? And that's what's so interesting about these iconic creatures, is that a lot of the time, like, mind flayers are super interesting, and I hardly ever see them used. Like, they're interesting, they're fun, they have a certain uniqueness to them in the realm of like derivation that is the D&D monster manual. And this also goes for beholders, this goes for aboleths, this goes for all of the, like, Kuatoa. That's a video I just watched recently by the Grunge Master. that actually taught me what Kraken Week was. That's how I heard about it. But all these unique creatures, they all get treated as if they're one note. I think that the worst offenders for this are like dragons / fiends. I feel like most dragons are played like pretty one note. And I feel like a lot of fiends are played pretty one note. Like, oh, in this town, there's a shadow devil. Well, what does it want? It wants to cause chaos. And like carnage. And it wants to corrupt. That's the 3 C's, by the way. Chaos, carnage, corrupt. Like a shadow demon just wants those things. Well, what does this shadow demon want that sets it apart from all of its fellow shadow demons? Because a core part of being a fiend is that you're like a schemer. Even like the quote-unquote dumb demons, like lemurs and manes for devils and demons don't really count. They're like CR0. They're like babies. But even like the I think it's the beluga, like the big ape looking ones, they're like charisma 8. That's like a notably uncharismatic human. But even the least charismatic people you know, even the least intelligent people you know, even the least ambitious people you know, still have some sort of idiosyncrasies to them that sets them apart. In fact, a lot of time, that lack of ambition makes them notable from the people around them, right? So this one shadow demon, what sets it apart from other shadow demons? Like, I would say that even like Orthax from Critical Role Season 1, that was just like, hey, I'm gonna take your soul because revenge. Like, you want to get revenge? Sell your soul to me. I'll teach you how to get revenge. And then that's really all I wanted. And then once it got banished, it helped someone else get revenge. And like, you could say like, oh, it helps people with revenge. It's very vindictive. But like, that's all basic. That's all one note. That's when I think of a demon, I think of something that is like capricious and vindictive and chaos, carnage, corrupt. What I want to see is I want to see a demon that helps the party for no obvious reason. When I say no obvious reason, I don't mean like what they don't know is that if they do what the demon wants them to do, then they're going to be corrupted because they'll actually be burning down an orphanage. I mean like, hey, there's this cult of, let's call them like Fae worshippers, right? And they're gonna like destroy the town. Demon offers knowledge of cult base. Right? So like, there's a problem. They're gonna do bad stuff. The demon helps. Doesn't solve the issue, doesn't like give them warlock powers, just says like, hey, here's some advice, here's some knowledge, go crazy kids. why? That's a good question, players. You don't get to know the answer because it's the demon. Demons are chaotic. Sometimes they do things that don't seem to make sense. Devils, conversely, will sometimes do things that also don't make sense, but generally because they're following a code or rule, or they're subscribing to the letter of the word instead of the spirit of the word, or maybe vice versa. Demons are inclined to just do things that don't make sense. Maybe the entire reason the demon is doing this is because this one particular demon has beef with this one particular fae that the cult is worshipping. Also, speaking of cults, let them worship fae. Let them worship Modrons and Slod and other entities other than just devils and demons and great old ones. I even made a short a couple months ago about the idea of a cult that worships an angel. So like, you have like an 8th level party and they're like fighting a bunch of cultists, and then they have like divine magic, and then eventually they have to fight like a deva as the final boss, because like the classic thing of the cult is it doesn't matter how far away the ritual is, they will always get some extraplanar help for their loyalty to make an interesting encounter. Like, unspoken rule of cults, if you're not doing that, I advise you do. Sorry, I have some hibiscus tea that I'm sipping on. Sip, sip, sip. And some pretzels that I'm munching on. Munch, munch, munch. As I mentioned, I'm munching. Anywho, it's the idea of it can be fun to lean in to the stereotypes of these various creatures. And it can be fun for the players even to look at something, recognize what's going to happen, and then go, oh no, because then the thing happens, right? Like, that players like surprises, but they like knowing what's going to happen and trying to stop it more a lot of the time. So sometimes it's just like you want to play the type. Right, sometimes you want to play alongside type, alongside expectations, because if you're constantly breaking expectations, then you're just inconsistent. You don't have coherency. But if often you play to type, or even sometimes you play to type, then you're allowed certain opportunities to be like, hey, a demon is going to help you, and maybe it does so for free. Maybe it does so in exchange for a very valuable diamond that it wants for a ritual, but doesn't really hurt the party. Maybe it does so for a vial of one of the characters' blood. And that isn't because then like the demon owns them or anything, but maybe the demon knows a different demon who knows blood magic and can do something with the blood of an Aasimar. So it wants some Aasimar blood. Specifically, not to hurt the party, but just because it has its own agenda it wants to push, right? So that could all lead, those could all be costs that don't hurt the party, that aren't trying to ruin the party, that aren't trying to bite the party in the butt. And then you think to yourself, well, why would the demon help them? As much as it can not hurt them because it's chaotic, because it is not always, it doesn't always have it out for them. It could hate the Fae. It could want to save the town because it has a cult of its own that it wants to maybe either protect or foster. Maybe It is just that it wants to get in the good graces of the party. Maybe it doesn't care about this situation literally at all. However, the idea of like the Aasimar blood, or that one, maybe like 500 gold worth of ruby dust for a specific spell it wants to cast. Maybe it does this in exchange for amnesty. And like, maybe there's a paladin in the party, or a cleric in the party, and the demon says, hey, I want your word that if I ever call upon you to testify in favor of me, or like to protect me if I am being threatened by your faith, you will answer and you will oblige by speaking on my behalf favorably. Like, the players will think, whoa, what's going on? Like, this is a deal with the demon, we can't trust it. But maybe the demon doesn't even have anything planned. Maybe it's just like, hey, I want to make sure that if I get caught by the wrong people, I have a get out of jail free card. Maybe it won't work forever. Maybe it won't work the first time or at all. But the demon should have its own goals and presumptions. Maybe even the demon falsely believes that if the party fights the cult, then the cult will wipe out the party, and the demon wants the party gone. So the demon, quote unquote, helps by sending the party on what the demon believes will be a failure. But in reality, it literally, at face value and at the deeper level, just helps. There's so many things you can do with like a demon that's more than just like, give me your soul or your blood, and probably both, and in exchange I'll give you like 1 level of warlock powers. Like, that's so overplayed. That's so not interesting to me, you know? And that's exactly the same philosophy I have with the Kraken in a different location, because it's Krakens in open oceans slumbering beneath the waves is cool, right? But Krakens can be more than that. And I would say even your like Pirates of the Caribbean, or like other media forms of Krakens that are literally just giant squids. Bro, if a giant squid creature that summoned lightning and controlled the weather wrapped its tentacles around a mountain peak and then faded into a blizzard that it conjured minutes prior, that would be awesome, right? Or if you're in a rainforest, and then suddenly the rain starts falling heavier and heavier, causing the forest floor to become muddy and muggy, and then suddenly a massive tentacle wraps around you and pulls you into the canopy, where your companions can't even hear you scream because the rain is falling so heavily and it's obscuring vision so deeply. Like, that's the kind of stuff that, I don't know, I feel like a lot of people go, oh my gosh, that would be so cool if that happened, and then they proceed to not try and make that stuff happen. Which isn't the fault of anyone. It's not like I'm saying anyone isn't creative. It's just that can be applied to so many creatures. And like, I'm thinking of like mind flayers, and it's imagine like urbanized mind flayers who are on the surface of the material plane, and they're just like really high level bureaucrats and reclusive nobles who have a series of mind slaved servants, and they hide in plain sight. They're just sycophants on society, and I don't know, maybe they're constantly ill and predisposed to being a shut-in, so they can't go to public soirees. Or maybe they just literally walk up to a noble, mind slave him, claim their power and authority, and then just have the noble go on all of these normal noble stuff, these normal noble things, while the mind flayer does all of the actual thinking. I don't know. I feel like a lot of this is pretty... None of this is super complicated, I feel. Yet, I don't see it happen a lot all the same. So, I'm a bit confused by that, because I really would have thought that these are the sorts of things that particularly folks who are like, hey, I want to homebrew this thing, or I want to... Because let's be real, I don't know about anyone else, but when it comes to like party composition, the idea of a fighter, a cleric, a rogue, and a wizard. I almost never see this party comp. Maybe it's because I don't run for 4 people, but I often see I'll see like a rogue, a bard, a ranger. Oh my gosh. A ranger and like, I don't know, maybe like a sorcerer. So obviously, this is a very like squishy party. Maybe the bard is running support, maybe not. But this kind of like well balanced. You have like 2 front lines. You have like 2 marshals. You have 2 casters. You have high whiz. You have high int. You have high dex and also probably high caw. And then, like, the fighter is usually, like, strength and con. So you usually have, like, all of the stats covered. You have every role in combat covered. You can deal with magic threats. You can deal with martial threats, social encounters, puzzles, all of that. Over here, you have, like, charisma, dexterity, maybe also dexterity. No one really has strength, or maybe the sorcerer, but probably not has con. No one has intelligence. They have a bard in the party. And like really wisdom, like maybe the ranger has good wisdom, but probably not. Most rangers I've seen have more dex than wisdom. So like this is a very specialized party, but this is the sort of party I see way more than something like this. So that makes me wonder if players are so willing to be like, hey, I want to be a Warforged rogue of like the was it like the Ghost Blade subclass? Like that's a really wacky combination that I think a lot of players would be like, yeah, that's just like the kind of character I like to make. Why do all DMs be like, hey, you start in a tavern, fight some goblins or bandits? Like, we're not even getting cults anymore. It's always goblins and bandits. And then this inevitably leads to like a dragon encounter. Like 5 levels down, right? So I guess what I'm pointing out is that as a forever DM, as someone that has DM'd far more than I've played the game, I find it weird how players get really, really weird and creative, but DMs tend to stick to like traditional progression. And I think that might be a little bit of like, oh, well, there's a lot more on their plate. They're a lot more focused on having cohesive narrative, and then also combat encounters, and also maps and all of that. But also, like, if instead of goblins and bandits, you had like marrow, and instead of a dragon, it led to a combat with an aboleth. I feel like that'd be a far more memorable. And then instead of a tavern to kind of keep the aquatic theme, maybe you're on like a fishing trip. Like you're on a boat, right? And then you fight a bunch of marrow, and then eventually you find out that the marrow are actually being controlled by something. So then you investigate further, and then you find that, oh, well, the marrow have actually joined the Sahuagin against the merfolk. And normally they're mortal enemies. So what's going on? And then you find out that both the Sahuagin and the marrow are being controlled by an aboleth. So then all like coalesces over the course of like 6 to 9 levels, where you go from we're on a fishing boat defending it from marrow to now we're taking on an army of enthralled marrow and Sahuagin, as well as countless like sharks and like giant squids, in order to make our way to basically sever the aboleth's control over them, with an entire like village of merfolk on our side. And that's the sort of stuff where like I think that isn't absent from the game. However, think about how many games you've played, and think about how many games other people talk about having played, and how many sound like that. Versus how many sound like we met in a tavern, or we were all in jail together. Then we got assigned a quest, or we got a quest in like an adventurer's guild or whatever. We're gonna go fight some goblins, or we're gonna get like ambushed by bandits on the road. And then after fighting all of that, and we fight progressively like more difficult goblins or more difficult bandits, maybe we fight some orcs, maybe some hobgoblins are involved, though I don't actually hear too many people talk about hobgoblins or bugbears. And then like eventually it's like, oh, unrelated to the bandits and the goblin is a dragon. So now time to go fight a dragon to show how cool you are. And then like at 6th level, you're fighting a dragon. Like, I don't know about y'all, but at least in my early days, that was absolutely what I did. I leaned on the kind of one note adventure, the kind of standard adventure. I tried to make it more cohesive. But even I was feeling the pressure of like, hey, my players need to like have a big spectacle fight. They like started at, I think I had them start at 1st level, for the campaign I'm thinking of. But like I wanted them to fight a dragon at like 6th level, so I took like a adult or a young red dragon and like I leveled it down a bit. Even you are not immune to propaganda. Okay. Gonna take a little sippy sip of my hibiscus tea with other assorted berries. I think raspberry. Because it's a very tangy sort of sweetness. Sorry if you could hear me slurping. Sip, sip, sip. So I've noticed the AE over on his stream has not yet started Ace Attorney. So I can't, because I believe, yes, he is playing Ace Attorney. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look. So last time he streamed Ace Attorney, I threatened him by saying I would send him Ace Attorney BL in his DMs. And then it would get progressively worse and more explicit. I ended up not I ended up not sending him anything like bad, because obviously I would not do that to him. However, what I'm going to do, Ace Attorney BL. Okay, I found a good one. I found a good one to send. If you don't start soon, BL will continue. Okay. The message has been sent. The threat has been made. Okay, so methinks I could continue talking about D&D, or because chat is very quiet today, which, hey, we all got those days, I could just make this an editing stream. Like, I could just start streaming my editing process, because I have a video I want to get done on Friday. Alternatively, I could just what's it called? What was it? I could just play like Asian mythology or something. Oh my gosh, I've only been streaming for an hour. I thought I'd been streaming for longer, but nope, that's what happens when I plan on starting at like 7, and then I end up kicking it back half an hour because I need to go on my nightly run, and then I have to shower, and then I just missed even the 7:30 date because of other circumstances pulling up. So I definitely want to go for at least another hour, but given that seems to be pretty chill and I want to get some editing done, I might wrap it up fairly soon. I just have a quick little stream. Just make sure I get some YouTube folks in. Get my YouTube audience some love. Because I've been mostly focused on streaming on Twitch recently. And I have considered swapping over fully to streaming on Twitch, but I want to try out both. I don't want either one to die on the vine. I want to give it an honest shot. But Twitch, I found like the latency is better. The actual like viewership doesn't seem to be as good, but that's because I think I have mostly a YouTube audience. And at least personally, I'm the sort of person where if I watch someone on YouTube, I'm really not a Twitch user personally in terms of like watching stuff. So I generally don't like follow them to Twitch. I really just watch their YouTube live streams. And if they're multicasting, if they're like multi-streaming, then I might see their streaming on YouTube and then hop over to Twitch. But at least most of the time, I'm a YouTube only, really. So I ain't gonna knock it. I respect the grind. Oh wow, Classical Condition has been doing well so far. Very well so far. Oh goodness. Yeah, I wanna make more long form videos, but excuse me. I saw my YouTube recommended that someone wants to make a playable skeleton race for Dungeons and Dragons. Wait, so I'm not actually sure how redirects work on YouTube, but it would be so funny if I redirect into their channel. I'm just like, hey, give me your bones. Oh my gosh, that'd be so silly. Oh my goodness. Whew. So something else that I have been thinking of, and I think I was planning on doing this on stream, but I might do this for shorts, is that like I'm really only doing 2 or 3 shorts a week, so this would cut into that. So I'm kind of curious how folks would react if I did this. But shorts for combat encounters. Huh? Based on tarot cards. Because I've talked about this on stream a good bit, but I think it'd be really interesting to have a series of shorts where it is just, hey, here's 15 seconds of explanation. And then here's like 30 to 45 seconds explanation of the tarot card. And then here's 30 to 45 seconds of an encounter to go along with it. So the idea would be like, if it's the Chariot, for instance, which is all about incredible action and force and strength, but it is inherently fleeting. So I would spend like 10 seconds explaining that. And then the encounter associated with it might be a very strong physical opponent that is physically dominating. But the issue with the with the opponent is that they kind of run out of steam after like 2 combat rounds. So they're super powerful for like 2 combat rounds, and then they like really simmer down. And then they might try and run away. They might try to retreat. They might fight to the last despite being weakened. And then the idea with that is that because it represents the Chariot, they would be an unstoppable force until their time is up. And then they would no longer be able to sustain it. Hello, just wanted to ask, will you ever consider playing a D&D campaign on stream or making YouTube videos playing? It'd be very interesting to watch you play, or better yet, watch your DM. Thank you. I actually have talked about this with some other content creators, with other VTubers specifically. And what I would want to do is, if I was to have an actual play game, here's my general plan for what it would be. It's by no means set in stone, and no one's agreed to it yet. However, I've thrown this around, and it's gotten some interest from it. So first off, I would probably GM or DM, just because, like, if it's my idea, I wouldn't want to say, hey, I have this really cool, like, idea for a game. Now you DM it so I can play in this really cool idea. So the DM would probably be me. And that's not like an ego thing. That's I don't want to impose on anyone. The second thing is that it would be a async game, where the idea would be it is a group of, perhaps it is a group of 4 players. So it's me and 4 players, 5 people total. That's a lot of people. If we're trying to coordinate streams, and we're trying to coordinate videos and editing, and we're all content creators. So it would be asynchronous, where it would be a series of one-on-ones. It would not be a trad game. It would not be a game where it is me DMing for a group of 4 people who are all working together towards some sort of common interest. It would be, I am working with character X, or with player X. And then independent of that, I would have sessions with player Y, and also player Z, and player like Alpha, right? So I'm talking to all of them individually. And the way I would do that is it would be hybrid text based. Again, this is just kind of like to go with being asynchronous, but it's the idea of if it is player X and me. So like one-on-one, one on X, because it's like I'm the one in this situation. I would be like Discord messaging player X, and I'd be like, okay, you're going after this goal. You talk to this NPC, and then we would have like a text conversation talking to the NPC, and then they would tell me, okay, I want to go do this other thing. And I'd be like, okay, you go to the market and you see a vendor who has these magic items, and then player X would say, I want to buy these magic items. Okay, blah blah blah, and then they would say, I want to go confront my rival, and then I would say, okay, pause. You want to go confront your rival? We are going to have a recorded video session. So the idea is that like 75 to 80% of the game is text-based. All of the stuff where it's, hey, I want to talk to my companion. I want to go on a shopping trip. I want to learn information about the plot going on in the city. That would all be text-based, just because it would help with scheduling, and it would mean that we would both be able to pick up the game as needed. And then once it gets to a dramatic moment, that would be a video session. That would be like your standard D&D actual play where we're on a video call, we record it. We probably wouldn't even live stream it. It would probably just be recorded, so it might be edited down. And then it would basically be episodic. Excuse me. The idea being that it is episodic, where for player X, like, this is all text-based, right? And suddenly there's this really important recorded bit that's really interesting. So actually I'll do like the interest is like up and down, up, and then maybe as it goes back down, we turn off the recording. It's back to text-based. And then there's another. Oh my gosh, we started up here, and then it kind of goes down, and then it peaks back up, and then it goes back up, and then we kind of cut off there because it's a natural progression point. Back to text-based. And then another session, and like so on and so forth, right? So the idea would be like, this is info plus shopping. This is a conversation with a rival. This is recouping. And then this is like getting arrested. No, and that's the thing. That's what I was going to get to. And the idea is that all of this, this happens for player X. This also happens for player Y. This also happens for Z and A. How would you make each player interact with each other for non-recorded segments, or would that be out of the picture? All of them, and this is specific to the idea I had. This would not work in every circumstance. It's just an idea I had. It would be, there's a singular goal that at the start with every single player, I say X, Y, Z, A. Here is your goal. I don't care what your character is. I don't care how they want to accomplish the goal. I don't care if they want to ruin the goal for everyone else or they want to work together. All of you want this goal. However, none of you are interacting. So the idea is it's almost like Game of Thrones or it would effectively be 4 mini stories, all following different main characters, all of whom are competing for the same goal. The Game of Thrones comparison comes in because it's the idea of basically every character in that show, or the series from what I'm aware, wants the Iron Throne. They want political power. They want to be like the ruler of Westeros or whatever. So you have like Cersei, and you have Jon, and you have, bro, I don't know characters. Daenerys. I never watched Game of Thrones, can you tell? And who's another character that is in Game of Thrones? Tyrion? So the idea is that they have zero interaction. However, if let's say X is a crime boss and Y is the chief of the town guard, they might interact, and then that would just be one of the recorded sessions. That would be they interact probably for the first time in character on a recorded session. And then the goal would be that with every single recording, with every single episode that is released, I, as the DM, or maybe like the player who I am playing with, would give a brief recap of the interesting bits of what happened in these text-based areas. Because you don't need to know, oh, I spent 20 minutes in Gilmore's Glorious Goods buying 3+1 daggers and then also a vial of holy water. You could just mention, after getting some gear and shopping, I moved on to confront my rival. And then that's where we left off. And then we would pick it up where probably character X already got to their rival and they start with a conversation. Maybe it becomes a fight. Maybe it becomes a negotiation. Maybe it's just a really tense role-playing scene. But the idea is that this would minimize scheduling conflicts, while at the same time cutting fat for the viewers. That's really smart, actually, for randomized go after one goal and just come across each other randomly in the world casually. Yeah, exactly. And the actual plot that I would have in mind is I have a town or a city in my world called the City of Steel. It is a my standard D&D setting. It's medieval fantasy, bordering more on like verge of the Renaissance than late medieval ages. But the City of Steel is fully steampunk. They have steam, or they don't have steam engines, but they have like steam power, and they have a infrastructure of pipes that can transport hot air from building to building because they live in like what is effectively the Arctic. They have firearms, like guns, have like flintlock and fuselage, like hand cannons exist. And the premise of the game for all of these 4 random characters, what their central goal would be that the central and highest authority in the criminal underworld just disappeared. How do they all want, like, all of them wants to fill that void, but it's up to them why and how they do it. So you might have the town guard's like captain who wants to come in and stamp out the corruption once and for all. You might have the successor who's like the pupil of the previous head of the crime syndicate who wants to step in and like take what they feel is their birthright. You might have just a random adventurer who comes in, hears what's going on, and wants a good time. And then you might have someone who is like a low-ranking criminal who wants to take the chance to get power in a system they otherwise feel they never could have. And then maybe the successor is a noble. Maybe the town guard, it's a corruption arc. maybe the adventurer wants to reset everything and like burn it all down. And maybe the criminal wants to like have a revolution. And then like noble politics, I'll say. So suddenly you have 4 very different characters with very different like ideas of what their plots will be, but none of them are going to stray away from the path, because at the end of the day, they all want to become the next like center point of the criminal underworld. Either ostensibly for good reasons, then they become corrupted, maybe to burn it all down, maybe to have a revolution, maybe because they want to politic their way around and like use political clout. And then suddenly you realize the adventurer and the criminal actually have very similar goals. Maybe they end up working together. Meanwhile, maybe the town guard and the successor actively are working against each other. And maybe these two never interact. That's not up to me. That would be up to them and their choices. And then obviously the goal here would be, and part of this would be, I would grab the, I would tell the players up front, like, this is not a very combat focused game. This is going to be more of a narrative and plot focused and role playing character oriented game. And I would say like straight up like, hey, this is meant to be content. This is meant to be interesting for a viewer. I've tried my very best to cut out all of the things I feel that as a viewer is not very interesting for actual plays. I would want this to be more like LA by Night, which is an actual play series of Vampire the Masquerade that I love. Basically, I would want this to be presented more as like performance theater, like performance improv, rather than like a quote unquote true D&D game. Specifically because I understand that true D&D games are very fun to play and not a lot of fun to watch a lot of the time. And even if they are fun to watch, like, it's really hard to justify sitting through like 100 episodes of a show where each episode is 3 to 5 hours long when like I could be doing so many other things, you know? So the goal would be all of this happens. I don't know the timeline, but the goal would be even these like recorded portions that like we snap into an interaction would probably be edited down to under an hour. Right? So you have X gets an episode for under an hour. Maybe Y gets an episode for under an hour. And then maybe just because how schedules work, X gets a second episode. And this one ends up being like 1.5 hours. But then like Z and A and such and so forth, right? Like the goal would not be to put strict limitations on it, but all of this might happen over the course of 2 weeks, right? So like 5 episodes across 2 weeks where it's maybe 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour and a half, 45 minutes, 45 minutes. That's like enough content for a single actual play series most of the time. And my hope would be that it would be far more accessible than a standard actual play series, because watching 53-hour-long episodes seems way more intimidating to me than 50 45-minute long episodes. Even though that's still a very large ask, when it comes to the tabletop scene, that's actually pretty light. That's pretty slim, right? And then because this would be 45 minutes of just the most engaging stuff, you would never really have an episode where it's just like, oh, this is a filler episode. This is an episode we don't really care about. You would have maybe 5 to 10 minutes in the very beginning of, here's what you missed last time. Here's what happened in the text-based game that you weren't privy to. And then maybe at the end you get like a teaser of what's going to happen next in the following text game. But the vast majority of it, even if there's like this dip right here, that's because this is building anticipation to this peak right here. However, this is also very much this is like I grab 3 to 5 other very narratively oriented players who happen to be content creators and who also have experience in improv and performance. Because, well, I don't think I'm an expert by any regards. I have been playing for years and DMing for years with the attitude of I want to RP. I want a plot that is engaging. I want to make you care about not only just my character, but also the scenes I'm in, right? So I might not be good at it. Like, am I good? Probably not. But like, I think I'm okay. And I've had some really solid games where I've made players cry due to nothing but my acting, right? And I have had players literally like sit there and like hug each other eating popcorn as they watched me get into a yelling match with another player because we were both in character, and it was like a very emotionally charged moment that enraptured the other players. So those are the sorts of players I would want for this. And I understand that's not reasonable to pitch as, hey, do you want to play a TTRPG? No, this is, do you want to act in my improv like theater group? Don't worry, there's dice and there's rules, and I'll tell you what you can and cannot do. So that's something where it's like, I can see that being a hard sell, and I would not want to market it as, hey, here's how I normally play D&D, everyone. I would market it as, here's how I think you can make an actual play series work by treating it like an entertainment, like an entertainment product that is meant for an audience. Because when I play TTRPGs, I'm not worried about cohesion. I'm not worried about, or I am worried about cohesion. I'm not worried about like plot holes, right? I don't really care about character arcs. Like sometimes I am, but most of the time, like in D&D, what I'm focused on is fun. And the vast majority of my groups, the fun isn't from really deep RP. The fun is from really like fun encounters. And I feel like I've had a lot of experience making creative encounters. The fun comes from saying yes to them and their silly ideas. Like, and as fun as it is, as a viewer, when you see the bard wants to roll to convince the ruling monarch that the druid actually is just a cat that had animate cast on it, or like whatever the spell that gives it intelligence is. As silly as that is, that doesn't really, it's not really conducive to like a game without plot holes, or a game with character arcs, or a game with like tonal cohesion. And this was a struggle I had for a really long time. I tried to make this all happen specifically because I thought this was fun, but my players didn't. And that's okay. Sometimes you have to recognize that different groups have, or different people have different interests, right? Time for some hibiscus tea. Slurp, slurp, slurp. So if I was to ever do an actual play series, I would want it to be more like this. I would frame it more around something like LA by Night, which is a performance first and a game second. And I think as much as the actors involved and as much as the storyteller Jason Carl would probably say, like, no, this is a proper chronicle, I think the fact that everyone involved was either an actor or like an improv comic, and it was framed in such a way that like the story and role playing was paramount, which is very common in Vampire the Masquerade and World of Darkness. I saw that more as, hey, we're going to put entertainment for the audience at the forefront, even at the cost of like, hey, we're not really going to have like really in-depth, mechanically complex encounter design, because as cool as it is for the barbarian to get a natural 20 and like deal 50 points of damage to the beholder, like that's predicated off of like 2 hours of like boring stuff at least in the combat. And like, oh, you might be able to see the mini map, but it wouldn't be a very, I don't know, if you can't move around, really all you can do is think about tactics that the players aren't thinking about because you're not involved. And then you just get frustrated at them. At least that's the sentiment I've seen online a bunch. In terms of like a proper game of like, hey, I am going to run for like probably also content creators, but like just, hey, I'm going to run a normal D&D game for like a group of 4 to 6 people. It's only going to last like 6 sessions because I don't want this to go on for years and years. I don't want to have this hit a hiatus really soon after we start. That's a solid maybe. Like, I don't know. My concern is that the downtime would be less interesting than it's worth. And as much as D&D with that sort of group could be fun, and I would love to do that like outside of content creation, just as a fun thing with other folks in the space, I don't really know if that's something where I feel it would be very successful, really, on my channel or just in its intended purpose, because suddenly you're playing a game, but cameras are on you, and people are judging you, and people are saying, hey, everyone in this group is so funny and clever and witty except for you. You should do better. Right? And then that's just like, well, that's no fun. And that is a problem that we might run into if it's like the whole what was it? I called it like the black powder crown. Like the powder crown was my idea. Because it's the idea of like the metaphorical powder crown is what whoever is in charge of the criminal underworld of the Steel City like wears. It's not a literal crown, but maybe some players think it's a literal crown. Maybe there is a literal crown that's like a fake crown going around, and some of the players are after that, and other players are like, no, that's just like that's just the children bickering. I want to play with the adults, and we all know that there's no real crown. Obviously black powder crown because it's a city with like hand cannons and fuselage and the ability to utilize black powder. So all of that kind of judgment would still happen in the circumstance I described, but I feel as though it would be less, I don't know. I feel like the players would be less offended by it because it's, well, you haven't seen all of my game. You've only seen the quote-unquote interesting bits. You've only seen when I'm arguing with my rival, when I'm arguing with the officer who's attempting to arrest me, and then when I get into a fight with someone in the prison who was supposed to give me information, but actually was just a snitch, right? Like, you only saw my character being aggressive, and one of your complaints is that, oh, well, why does every NPC talk about how kind this character is? That's telling, not showing. Your character, it has a short fuse and is just constantly fighting people. And then the player would know, well, no, that's not accurate. Like, in all of my text-based sessions, I'm very kind and sweet and polite. It's just all of the interesting bits are at points of conflict. And my character is not someone to back down from being challenged. So you just haven't seen the full picture, and you're complaining over nothing. So that's the sort of thing where that might be frustrating, but there's that like level or two of separation from the player and the character and what the audience hasn't seen, and then finally from the audience. But if it's all one big group where they see everything and they see all the failed jokes and they see all the flubbed one-liners, then the player is that much more vulnerable, you know? Because it's not, oh, you're saying that you don't like my character that I'm playing as an actor. You're saying you don't like my play style as a player, which can hurt, can be offensive, can be disheartening. And like, I'm not saying that it's my or the audience responsibility to like keep each other in check, but I can definitely see that being an issue, particularly if like I have 4 players and like I'm on the ball, 2 of the players are like super invested and engaged. One is trying but isn't very good, and then one just is like really shy and maybe isn't very vocal. So maybe the one who tries really hard but isn't very good constantly gets roasted by the audience because the shy one doesn't put enough forward to get roasted. And then the 2 people who are like in their element, more comfortable with it, don't have to worry about that because obviously like they're in their element. And then you have resentment between the party members, and then you have favoritism in the audience of players, not just characters. And that'll be a whole ordeal. So it might be fun, but I would have to feel more confident in my own abilities to curate a entertaining experience for both the players and the audience, and also just make sure that the audience that is there for it not only would want that, but also would want an environment where it's just like no one's being a jerk. Here I am munching on some pretzels. And I sip on some water and some hibiscus tea. Slurp, slurp, slurp. Hum, hum, hum. Well, I can't really fault chat for being too quiet, because I really did only put the waiting room for this like 2 hours in advance. So I kind of shot myself in the foot there, but I wanted to stream either today or tomorrow. Tomorrow's a holiday for the US, so I didn't know if there was going to be anyone who like wouldn't be able to make it, so I just pulled it tonight. I might stream on Twitch tomorrow night because I'm more free than I thought. If you're comfortable answering, can I ask where you're from? It's like 5 a.m. here. I'm on the east coast of the US. It's funny because I actually have a very international audience, which I was not expecting. I have a lot of like European fans. I have a couple South American fans, like Brazil specifically. I've seen a couple of people from Australia and like Oceania. So that's why I try to keep my streams pretty early. But the issue with that is that I'm constantly doing other stuff. Like I was working all day today. I'm super busy on that. I go on an evening run. So, like, I'm constantly fighting my own schedule in order to appease my audience. And like, my Kamiyoshi generally streams around the same time. So there's a lot of times where like a streamer that I really like is streaming a game I really like. And I'm like, I want to watch that, but I also have to stream. Do I give up my streaming career for the sake of being a consumer? Or do I give up content that will like make my brain happy in order to stream? And I usually end up streaming because I can always watch the live stream later, but it's very funny that I run into that issue a lot. You're actually from the US, just don't live there? Oh, okay. Yeah. Because I found that at least one of my viewers from Poland, I mentioned time zones, and they were just like, what? Because apparently they don't use time zones that often in Europe. I didn't know that. I thought like you have BST, you have GMT, and then like you might be a couple hours off of that. Funny enough, English is your second language. Hey, I know plenty of people who are in the US who English is their second language. Nothing wrong with that. I think that the obvious choice for you're in the US but English is not your first language is generally that you are like Hispanic and that Spanish is your main language, whether you like immigrated in or you just grew up in a very Spanish speaking household. But like even up north, there's folks who like, I actually don't run into that many people who speak French fluently, despite being by Canada. I think that's because French isn't, from what I'm aware, French is not like widespread throughout Canada. It's more of a, hey, there are pockets of where like it's really only French, and then everywhere else it's really only English. So I think that I'm just not by one of the the French-speaking pockets. Sorry, now I have to harass AE a little bit more. Sometimes you just have to harass your streamer friends. That's just the way the business works. So I think what I'm going to do, because there's not a lot of folks who are active in chat today, and I do have a video I'm going to edit. I mean, I could just edit on stream. Like, ain't nothing wrong with that. And then if anyone has any like points to bring up on questions about D&D or anything, I can just pivot to answer them. So let me pull up DaVinci Resolve. Yeah, if you don't harass your friends, are they really your friends? Like, it's the simple fact of bullying is my love language. So I'm awful to the people I care about. Not actually. I swear I'm nicer behind closed doors than I am. Okay, let's be real. No, I'm not. I'm awful. It's so silly. Humana. Oh my goodness. Never done an editing stream before. I don't know how like entertaining it will be, but only one way to find out. Let's grab you. DaVinci Resolve. Oh, is this not capture? Hello? DaVinci? Da Vinci! Hey, yo! Please hold. Oh, this shows it's green. This shows it's gray. That goes away. What in the heck? Huh? Oh, my mouse is freaking out. Bro, I got no idea. I don't think I'm smart enough to figure this out. I think what I'll end up doing is I'll probably just end up wrapping up stream in the next... I was thinking in the next 20 minutes. And then I will edit because I want to get this video out by Friday. My ideal. So until then, I will just chat and yap, or perhaps I will load up a game because I'm derivative. Okay, I know what I'm going to do. What I'm going to do, I'm going to load up an RTS called Age of Mythology. And I'm going to do a challenge that I just did last week on Twitch, which actually like finessed me into getting enough streams that I needed to qualify for something. Let's real quick see if this works. There we go. So I do use Steam. However, I've just kind of made a policy of I try to avoid any interaction with viewers that is not in public, just because that keeps everyone safe, both myself and them. Because I've seen too many times where streamers will like privately like befriend their viewers, and then it just works out for no one. It just everyone gets hurt in the end. So what I try to do is I just try to keep everything public, and like Steam friends, Discord friends, that all stuff, like that's stuff that I unfortunately avoid. But so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna play this game. I'm gonna play Age of Mythologies, which last time I did, if any of my human units die, I have to restart. However, instead, what I'm going to do is that... Yeah, and no stress, like, there's no harm in asking. Like, you'll never get anything in life if you never ask for anything. I am going to play this game, where I'm going to play as the Egyptians. However, last time I played where if my human units died, then I would have to end the game. Instead, this time, I'm going to play it where if my heroes die. So if my pharaoh ever dies, then I'm going to have to end the game. And to make this more interesting, I am going to have my pharaoh, ideally by the end of the game, use the power of Osiris to convert him into like this demigod who's super powerful and I'll want to use on the front lines, but otherwise be incapable of. So that is my challenge for myself. And I think that I can just play this for like 20 minutes, see how it goes, and we'll see how far I can get. So the thing about this game is that it's an RTS. And I'm actually gonna have to go It's an RTS where there are different factions, all of whom function basically completely differently. And with the Egyptians, they, in like accordance with the Egyptian mythology surrounding the pharaoh, they venerate their priesthood and their pharaoh as basically like demigods. So they are considered heroes. But also, all of the factions can summon different mythological units, from their various pantheons. So it's the idea of like, you can summon a sphinx as the Egyptians, or as the Greeks, you can summon a minotaur or a cyclops. So what I'm just doing is I am saying that because my priesthood is divine, because they are demigods who must be protected, if my pharaoh or any of my priests, so like most of my good units, if they die, then I gotta start. I gotta leave. I gotta be done.
Image erect. In wedge.
So I just hunted this zebra to extinction. Time to go hunt for some more. Gazelle. Let's create some obelisks because they have good line of sight. And now we can continue with making mistakes. What you're gonna do, you're gonna create a bunch of houses. Population in these games is very steady. Do you know about Northgard? It's an RTS similar to the game I'm playing right now, and it's your go-to RTS game with friends. I am unfamiliar with Northgard. Feel free to tell me more about it. Oh, I'm facing the Egyptian. Well, this is awkward. We built our obelisks right next to each other.
In which you refer via
Greek.
Yeah, so I'm actually not big on RTSs, funny enough. It's just I happen to have grown up on this one, so I have a lot of nostalgia for it. I've also played like Age of Empires is another one. Funny enough, I actually grew up on like Age of Empires 3 before I played Age of Empires 2, but I played both when I was younger. So I have experience with like the one everyone loves and also the one that like no one loves.
You refer. Tayo.
Close to getting some food. Age of Mythology detected. That is correct, Dylan. I spent a while just kind of yapping about D&D, different thoughts I had, and then I was like, well, since I haven't video to edit, I think I might keep this as a quick stream, and just kind of like turn in after like 15 more minutes. But basically, what I'm doing right now is I'm actually playing a little challenge I set forward for myself, where I'm playing as the Egyptians, and in honor of how the Egyptians venerate their priesthood and their pharaohs as like divine demigods, if any of my priests or my pharaoh dies, I have to end the game and resign. I figure it's a fun little challenge, and I played one similar last week where I did that with the Norse and with human units. Oh no, the bell sound of finding livestock woke your memories. Yep, that bell right there.
in which you are air.
Hey, I'm also worshipping Anubis. Let's go.
And you.
In which
Let's just...
you need
Why did
to-
you go over there, bro? Okay, so my new bite is the
You
myth
need
unit
to-
that I just got. Build an armory,
via
because Egyptians get it for free. For free? There are different factions you can play, each with different strengths and weaknesses. So you can play 1 versus 1, 2 versus 2, and so on. You can have several win conditions, and you can kill every player. Well, so it's not like an official hardcore mode or anything. It's really just me kind of being silly. And I'm not good enough at this game to justify it. I'm just like, for it decision making.
Greek. And we UIR.
Yeah, so I haven't actually heard of Northgard before. However, it definitely sounds similar to Age of Mythology, just like you were saying.
You need to.
Let's get... Maybe I shouldn't use my
Image erect.
gold production units to build buildings that cost gold.
You refer.
Let's use my
In Yawit.
wood production instead, because they're not doing much. I don't need much wood. Well, really what I should be doing is I should have my Pharaoh go out and grab these relics.
You need to.
Gerek.
Can be the richest player on the game, win with lore, special map clan trading, and so on. Ew, interesting. See,
Gerek.
I don't know. I'm a fan of like games. Oh, I lost a villager already. I'm a fan of games like Civilization. Where did my priest go? There it is.
And which Tayo.
I'm a fan of games like Civilization. And I always end up just getting like stupid rich. My issue... Huh? Yep, they're starting to attack. Only good against other infantry. Yeah, this axeman is just tearing up my obelisk. Oh no, it's almost like they're super weak and just meant for scouting. Yeah, every time I play Civilization, I always become like the most wealthy player on the map, even when I'm playing with other people. I could be like completely failing when it comes to, yeah, you defeated my obelisk in combat. Good for you. Yeah, and you're gonna defeat my granary in combat. Ooh. Even if I'm falling behind in like military, or I'm falling behind in culture or whatever, I just always got the gold on lock. Maybe it's because I'm like greedy. Let's get some factory upgrades. I have. Let me. Okay. I have to double check something.
Into you.
Maybe I just have it. Oh. Oh, they got like a whole squad going. Right, so I forgot about the... Nope, I'm back. So they cost gold. Luckily, I have like a pretty decent force of axemen, and they are being upgraded, so... I'm not too scared. I always struggle with getting too invested in the military in this game, because I'm a very passive player, funny enough. I'm not a very violent player. I'm not very aggressive. So I'm often prone to just be like, yep, I'll just like build up a little force.
Into you. At you.
No.
Luckily, I only have one priest and one pharaoh, so the actual units that I'm trying to... Oh, run away. Run away. Let the arrows take care of the snakes, boys. Yeah, so I have one priest to worry about. I have one pharaoh to worry about. Luckily, my lose condition is that one of them dies. Don't gotta worry about much. You really want to play Civilization, but it seems like complicated to get started. That's why I play Northgard. It's a dumbed down version, I think. Ooh, interesting. So Civilization, I would say is not super complicated. Of course, I say that as someone that has been playing Civ for years. But the cool thing about Civ is that there's many different ways to win, right? You can win by... no.
Finito. Tayo. Aya. Iato.
Check my priest.
No.
Gosh. Okay, priest is going home. Priest go home. You can win by physically conquering everyone else. You can also win by just culturally dominating everyone else. In Civ 6, you can win by having more tourism than they have domestic tourism. And you can win by just blitzing science. That's often a win condition. So it seems complicated, but it's really just, hey, here's a bunch of different ways you can win. Here's a bunch of different tools to do it. And then failing that or outside of that.
In which EU refer. Tayo.
Let's leave.
At EU refer.
All right, we got our mileage out of. Wait, are you not shooting? We got our mileage out of. What's it called? Actually, I don't need to.
Enzio.
On your soldiers, just for the
Ro
favor.
in Yahweh.
We're maxing.
Into EU at you.
As you can tell, I'm not very good with my macros. So Civilization has a lot you can do, but I wouldn't say it's a necessarily like complex game per se. I would say something like Crusader Kings 3 is a very complicated game. You'll always have to be on top of a lot. But with something like Civilization, it's really just like, hey, here's a bunch of different tools you have access to. If you want to use them, go for it. If not, no worries. Right? Generally, it's pretty straightforward in terms of like a turn-based strategy, in terms of a grand strategy.
In which you
It's
Tayo. EU refer.
don't
In which EU refer.
I need to level up so I can get a market real easy. Yeah, so Crusader Kings is actually a very complicated game that I actually quite enjoy. I don't know if I would stream it because I don't know how entertaining I could make it. Like, obviously there's the wacky shenanigans you get up to, but at the same time it's also like, could I do that? Or would I just kind of like max out Dread and then get deposed after like 10 years in game? What slingers? I don't really need spearmen.
In what?
I'm getting some free food. Gonna build some more villagers just to get more food production because food is kind of lacking. In the meantime, I'm going to just build more X-Men because counter infantry, where most of my opponents are infantry. Very good, very good. Where did you go? Okay. I have no idea where I sent you. I guess I sent you to a fine enough place.
Tayo.
Tayo.
Bum. Bum, 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 bum.
EU refer.
You can be squad 2, and you can be squad 1. Squad 1 I'll have here, squad 2 I'll have here. And I'm going to do what no one has ever done before. I'm going to set a patrol route along my border. And then what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to create a little bodyguard squad for my pharaoh and just have like 4 axemen who are going to be guarding my pharaoh. Actually, I'll have 2 on my pharaoh, 2 on my priest. Yeah, like y'all can guard you.
ER.
So wherever the Pharaoh goes, they'll follow. You really want to watch a content creator for what they are doing, but watch them. You really watch a content creator for what they're doing, but watch them for their personality. Don't know what's the majority though. I mean, I think that the way a lot of people treat it is that they will watch a content creator they love because they love them, right? But then you'll only watch a content creator who you haven't seen before because they're playing something you enjoy, right? So it's like, I'll try you out. I'll test what you're doing. You're playing Northgard. I love Northgard. Let me see how you're doing. But otherwise, it's just kind of like, oh, well, this creator can play anything. I would love to watch them. That's how I generally treat it. So I'm not sure how anyone else treats it. Listen, Karnak. My civilization has yet to discover the fire or the wheel. You advanced to one age ahead of me like 10 seconds ago. Calm down. Okay, so we got
In wedge.
Neoser. Do we have a name for this priest, everyone? Because, like, the priest is important enough that his bodyguards. He's seen combat. He's fought some dudes. Nearly killed an axeman by himself. Do we have any ideas? That seems fair? Yeah. I think that's generally what it ends up being. Just because I'm Isis, and that means that I think that will give a aura of protection. My gold has wrapped up. What I'm going to go over here, put a tower, then I'm going to put a mining. See, this is why I did patrols.
Into you.
And I don't actually know if I can zoom in, can I? Wow, this is not working. Oh, there we go. Right as the combat ends. Okay.
Into you.
Maybe. Oh, my entire first squad got wiped out. Yikes. So I'll put you there. And then what you can do is you can actually patrol over to the gold camp and then also to part of mine. So you're not wasting all of your time going all the way down here, then all the way back up. You're just kind of going there down to there, so that if any enemies get caught, unlike my armory, then they'll go there, see the enemies, and attack. And I think these Anubites will be like a shock squad I have. They won't be patrolling or anything. They'll just kind of like be on hand. I need more everything really. I just need to invest in more people. Shock squad. Oh. Yep.
Into you.
They're hitting me. Let me just... They seem to be attacking me here a lot, so I'll do a Plague of Serpents. I think what I need is I need to bring my Pharaoh into battle. The issue is if my Pharaoh dies, then the game is lost. I'll get one more on food, and I'll get one more on gold.
And
in wedge. Tile.
Greek. Are you
I
referring
think I just kind of leave my squads. Like my Nubites are fast, so they can chill over here. But my main squad needs healing from the priest.
In wedge.
and which?
Oh, my Pharaoh can also heal. Would you look at that? Absolute demigods. That's what I'm saying. So I'm going to wait just 100 more food so I can age up. I already have all of the tech for this age, and I already upgraded my axemen. I'm really only using my axemen because they're really just throwing infantry at me. So I don't need spearmen because I don't have cavalry. They're counter cavalry. I don't really need slingers since I don't have a lot of archers. They mostly just have myth units. I'm going to age up. I'm going to go Nephthys, because that improves priests. And what I'm actually going to do, I think it's a risky play to invest in more priests, because then that's more of a chance that I lose the challenge. However, I think what might be fun is to just like make a couple priests for healing, you know?
Antio.
And which? Are you refer?
Inagira. Refer.
So what you need to do, I'm going to put you back over here on food. You have siegecraft. My priest needs to be careful. Luckily, my priest does extra special damage against myth units. Take out the siegecraft. Cool. Increase damage of them. That sounds good. Increase healing rate and lowers their cost, maybe. Makes pharaohs stronger. I think I gotta go Chad Pharaoh on this. I think my pharaoh has to lead the charge. I think I invest in some more Nubites. But first things first, I'm the realist.
In which are you?
I gotta invest
You refer?
in a heckin' market. I'm going to send you off in the distance. I'm going to put you as far away as I can safely, because the way the market works is that I can trade resources for each other, so I can like spend gold to get wood, for instance. But I can also create camel caravans that will walk to one of my town centers. So what you're going to do, you're going to create a stronghold that will then allow me to not only build more units, but also will have arrow defense. Upgrade my axemen, build my axemen faster, and then I can invest in more defensive gear.
You need to.
You're so far away that the market is
You
safe.
refer?
I can send you back there. And now what we do is that not only do we have a steady supply of wood and gold and food, but we will also have a
Image direct.
well, they're attacking me again, so that's no fun. But, attack! I think I gotta... No, I'll be good. What is... So they just have copper gear, but they are heavy. And what I have is I have mostly copper gear, and I'm also heavy. So, no real issue.
Greek Baya?
My gold production is shot. Just build more. Luckily, with the market, that don't really matter. I can sell a bunch of wood, buy a bunch of food, spend my food on camels, which will passively generate me more gold. And then now I just have a... Oh. Yeah, they're dead. Oh well. Now I just have a constant supply of camels that will be bringing me gold. I have multiple layers of defense when it comes to things like my towers.
Image direct.
You know what I'm gonna do? Just to be cheeky. I'm just gonna build a wall And then build a wall and make the Egyptians pay for it.
Garrett.
Oh, goodness. Oh,
Greek
my priest is on the front lines.
UIR.
My priest is on the front lines.
Greek UIR. Are you refer?
So I just use a god power called Ancestors, which basically gets me a bunch of minions.
Anayo.
Like, they're literally called minions. That will die shortly after I spawn them. But they just, it's an immediate fighting force, right? Hello?
And which?
Are you gonna die, priest? Okay, well, you're all are gonna die, so... No, run away!
UIR. Are you refer? Greek. Tayo.
This might be it. Oh, no.
Tayo.
Oh.
Incorrect. Rolling Yahweh.
Yeah, they all died because they ran out of time. Sad.
Finito. Baya.
Okay, so now I have to... they've been funneled over here. So now all I have to do is I have to ensure that they get, like... If I really wanted to be cheeky, I would just, like, build another wall there, force them to go this way, and I'll just build a bunch of arrow traps. But I'm not that smart. Don't know if we have this one, but I'm gonna keep fighting, because... Well, why am I gonna keep fighting? I don't really know why.
And which? Are you refer?
No, my camels! No! That's gonna be 66 gold I'm losing. I think this is it, folks. I think that this is it. I'm not very good at RTSs, in case you couldn't tell.
And which? Are you refer? Are you refer?
Oh no. Oh no, they're sending in the villager killers. How many did we lose? What? Are they still attacking? Bro. Bro's really, like, attacking my supply line like that.
Greek.
I just want to get to the final age so that I can freaking get Super Osiris. Farm. Farm. Oh my gosh. Why did the tracking is so bad? I want you to kill this dude. Okay. Okay. We're so back. We are so back. My infrastructure is kind of in shambles, but we are so back. Yeah, this is what I meant when I just said, like, I'm not very good at these sorts of games. I'm just not aggressive enough. Oh, they have cavalry finally. See, if I was not streaming this, I would probably just end it by now. But I must demonstrate that I will take this to the bitter end. And I will take Osiris, and I will gain the son of Osiris as my hero, as my not my phantom, my pharaoh. And as such and so forth, I will defend my honor. I have my own little army that I'm building up. I'm gonna grab all you guys. Protect.
Into you. Gary.
Tech.
Into you.
Enito.
Well, at least now I can just leave my myth units there. Oh no! Okay, my Pharaoh's fine. Yeah, my Pharaoh's fine.
Garrick. Into you.
Okay, I'm upgrading. We're improvise, adapt, overcoming. Should I invest in like any spearmen? They are starting to use like chariots and whatever. Ah, I got to the mythic. Oh, we got to the mythic age at the same time. Never mind. I was gonna be like, ha, I got there before you. Okay, first things first. I know this will mean I can no longer heal, but I now have a son of Osiris who has a wicked lightning attack. Pretty awesome. And a mummy. Boop-a-doo-boo. Let's invest in my axemen some more. Yeah, I'm just gonna kind of... What? Why are y'all wonky? Oh no, I've only invested in bronze.
Into you. And with you. And with you. Garrick. At you.
Oh, because you got stung by a freaking scorpion. That was Scorpion's thing. Oh, I got a new pharaoh because my old one turned into a son of Osiris. Who woulda knew? Who woulda knew that all you had to do was talk about me and apply it to you? Oh, what if I just gun for a Titan? So for anyone who doesn't know, in this game, there's a DLC for the Titans, and they're basically like super weapons. That might actually be what wins me this game. Because if I don't invest in it, I need to invest in more wood production. What is happening over here? Oh, you just use your tornado? Yeah? Yeah, that was absolutely was a waste of your power. It was not worth it. You know where my base is located, silly. Let's use this power because I won't use it later. I keep hearing like attack noises, like attack alerts, but I'm just like, bruh, I know. I keep sending guys there and they keep dying. Alright, time to whip out Lightning Man.
Into you. Into you.
Guard Lightning Man. Oh, back up, Lightning Man. You can't be healed. Nope, don't heal. Lightning! Look at that. Incredible. Incredible. Can you play Age of War after this, pretty please? I was going to play it myself, but it would be fun to see me play it. Age of War 1? I actually don't know if I can access it because it's a Flash game, right? I actually didn't play Age of War for the longest time. I played Age of War 2. That's the one I was most familiar with. Although it would be very fun to play a bunch of Flash games, but like obviously I have to figure out how to actually properly play them. Okay, I'm gonna gamble. Right? I'm going to gamble on the secret of the Titans, and I'm going to put all of my eggs in that one basket, and hopefully win this game in the next like 15 minutes. And if I don't win it with the Titan, I don't think I'm winning this. So if you have a particular site in mind, that like is reputable by any sense of the word, I'd be open to checking it out. But at least at present, I can't think of any that I know of. Oh, bro, you're attacking my villagers with a catapult? Why are my units not protecting you? Run! Run!
Finito. In which?
Y'all, we're making some changes.
Rig.
Okay. Why are you going over there, son of Osiris?
UI air.
Age of War has its own site. Age of War game. Interesting. Yeah, I actually might check that out. Because again, I have really only played Age of War 2. I don't have much experience with Age of War. Send like 4 of you back to wood when you're done.
Finito. Finito.
You
Up.
can go
up,
back
tayo. In which UI air. Tayo.
basically everyone else can go to gold. A bunch of my gold people died. Whoops. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna build a bunch of like skeleton men or scorpion men, and they'll be my shock troop, right? Oh. Oh, there goes my market. Take a break. Build a market. And then go back to constructing. Because if I have a bunch of these boyos, these scorpion men, they can act as shock troops. They can absorb any blows I might take. I'm at like 36% already. So yeah, I'm gonna get this done in like the next minute or two. I'll just get like my little bit of gold every turn. I don't know. I feel like with a game like this, oh my gosh, you have another settlement. I'm not very good. I'm not aggressive enough as a thing. I don't build a fast enough army and then like unleash it on my opponent. I like to just kind of turtle. I like to build. I like to get my upgrades. Which obviously is not conducive if you're playing a very fast-paced RTS. Like, the enemy keeps raiding me, and I really don't have an answer because I just keep being like, scorpions. Okay, let me build another villager. Luckily, I have an upgrade that just gives me passive food gain. Yeah, these are getting 4 gold each, but I'm getting like 12 gold every like 10 seconds just for free.
In which I
don't really need wood. Yeah, look at this lad. Oh no. Run, lad, run! No! Imagine healing a mummy. That's so odd to me, but like, it's working. Okay, so this is at, what is this, like 87%? 88%? 89%? Yeah. So I'm thinking like under 30 seconds, I'm gonna get a Titan, and that can be used to support a kind of like shock squad. I don't have any Scorpions anymore, so I guess I'll just build some Axemen. Basically, if they don't have an answer for my Titan, which I don't think they do, they're just kind of screwed. Okay. So I have like a small cluster of
You need to.
I don't even need gold where I'm going. You're a priest, run away. You're a pharaoh, run away. You're my son of Osiris. Bing chin. Bing chin. Look at this lad. Look at this Titan. Cool. Now, y'all can come back out. I can buy up some wood because it's so cheap based off the conversion rate. Get some more Scorpions as like shock troops. I like them as shock troops. They're like Scorpion dudes. That's shocking. Titan and you. Y'all protect your boy. Y'all are number 2. I might as well bring y'all along, even though it's a mistake, just because it's funny, you know? Because, like, it's one thing to turtle my nobility and my priesthood back at base and be like, oh, look, they didn't die. It's another to send them on the front lines. That's why I went Isis, so I could choose Osiris and choose my pharaoh into the son of Osiris, because that's a front lines boy. Right, let's start moving. Push moving. I have no one getting gold. Oh, I did.
Gary, into you.
Let us all protect the pharaoh. Okay. You have a good amount of Scorpion dudes. So ideally, we want Scorpions to go in first. They're gonna take all the brunt of like the arrow fire, the attacks. And then we can follow it up with the Titan, who just like is not gonna die, no matter really what they do. And then we can bring in like the actual dudes. So like Scorpions and Son of Osiris, you can focus on the enemies. Titan is going straight for the throat. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, kill that camel. What was the meme? It was like a camel by camel. So that's like the Anka meme, right? my Titan does not approve of it. Okay. First things first, go after their immediate defensive structures. and then after their military support, to take out the tower, take out the Midgar stronghold, and like, I want my priesthood nowhere near that, right? I want my priesthood taking out their priest. So see how my Titan can just kind of like take all the punishment they're giving at me, but can't do this alone, because if they're just like assailed by a million attacks, then like they're out of luck. That's why I gotta have my secondary squad to just kind of like take out the little dudes, right? And then my Titan can go after like their stronghold, which is both a military building and also a defensive fortress. If I was really smart, I would go after like whatever is over here, which appears to be a second town center based off the fact that they all have gold. I'll just have the Axemen be a part of the group because they're not there. Okay, watch out. You're being attacked. So my Titan, smashing that, destroy this building before it's even made. Oh, what are you doing, bro? Okay, destroy the defensive fortress. No. Okay. Okay, my priest needs to stop putting himself in. Okay, now let's go for the throat. Go for the throat, that was really good. But I'm good to call you Wada because you under the bridge. Okay. You cannot call me a coward because I invested in having my priesthood. Oh, no, run away. Run away. I'm not going to lose this right at the very end. I invested my priesthood in combat. I brought them to the front lines with my Titan. I'm going to let my Titan go take out their other defensive structures as like my dudes attack their barracks and whatever. Oh, interesting. So their market's down. See, they did the same thing I did. Now I just gotta like take out their ability to really have any sort of economy. Wait! My priest died. Well, I was close. I would have won had I not failed my mission. Yeah. Oh yeah, they were 1 second faster than me in the Mythic era. Yeah, I loves me some Axemen. They had way more Axemen. They had like 5 times as many Axemen as me, or like 4 times as many Axemen as me. I got me some Scorpions. They had their Nubites. Yeah, it's just the difference in population. I have like, if we just go civilian pop, like they had so much more. And I was just lacking. Then they would like kill my dudes, and I was like, oh no. Oh wow, the military pop was all over. At one point, I had a way stronger military than them. Interesting. Probably because I just defeated them while I was actively making war. Interesting. So yeah, that is that's why I like having little challenges, because I'm just like, even though I had a shoe-in for victory by just like getting a Titan, I failed because I didn't protect my priest, even though he was on the front lines. So I'm actually going to take a couple minutes of a break. But let me look up real quick right now. Age of War game. I feel like I've tried this before. Oh my gosh, that's loud. I feel like I've played this before. No, it did not work. Oh, this seems to be working. Okay. Well, let me see something real quick. I was thinking about wrapping up after about 2-ish hours because there's not a lot of folks here. I gotta focus on editing. So I think what I'll do is, I don't know if Gold Zero, if you're still here, I'll probably whip up Age of War in the next couple of days over on Twitch. So I'll do it over on probably Sunday, or if I end up streaming sooner than that, then that'll be what I end up doing. But yeah, I think it would be fun to like what's it called? Play like Age of War, other Flash games maybe. But in the meantime, I think that quiet night. I had a very delayed waiting room, so I apologize for that. But I had some fun in what I was getting up to. Good chats about not only what video I had up in the future, but also just like my philosophy on D&D in general, and the idea of like, hey, you can mix and match whatever you want. You can swap stuff around, whether it's because it's raw or just because you're inspired by misreading something that's raw, and it really doesn't matter. But catch me live on Twitch over on Sundays, and then I might stream tomorrow night, depending on how my editing is going. Tonight, I'm going to end up stream and then probably like rest up for like a couple minutes and then hop immediately into editing. So my hope is to finish this video by Friday for Kraken Week. Thank you very much for keeping me company. I appreciate it. And I wish you a very pleasant day, a very pleasant night, because you said it was like 5 a.m., and a very pleasant morning. Take care. Have fun.